Hey, sixth grade. In today's lesson, we are moving on to adding and subtracting decimals. So, your learning goal for this lesson is pretty short and sweet. All right, make sure you get this in your notes. It says, in this lesson, I will add and subtract decimals. Yeah, I know, that's a doozy. Just make sure you get it in your notes. You have to hit pause so you have enough time to write it. In this lesson, I will add and subtract decimals. Okay, when you're adding or subtracting decimals, there are three important rules that you need to remember to follow, and make sure you get these in your notes. The first rule is line them up. Just like you do when you do regular adding and subtracting of whole numbers. Number two, you drop it down. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a minute, because that has to do with the decimal. So drop it down. And number three is fill them in. Make sure you pause so that you can get these in your notes. The three rules for adding and subtracting decimals. We have line them up, drop it down, and that's the decimal. And number three is fill them in. Once you have followed all three of those rules, then you go on ahead and you add and subtract. So here's what I mean. We are going to add these numbers. We have 3 and 421 thousandths plus 9 and 5 tenths plus 12 and 85 hundredths. Then we'll put our addition sign. All right, so we've lined them all up. We have everything lined up in their columns. We have our tenths on top of the tenths and the decimal points on top of each other. The ones are stacked on top of each other, and then we have this extra lonely little 10 over here. So, if it even helps, you can draw a line to make sure you have everything in their correct columns. All right, so there you have it. Line it up. Line them up because there are several of them. Step 2 was drop it down, and that means you just take your decimal point and you drop it down here to where you will put your answer. Number 3 was fill them in. What that means is just to fill in those empty columns with zeros so you don't accidentally get things confused. And then you go on ahead and you add or subtract. So in this case, we're adding. So we have 1 plus 0 and 0 equals 1. 2 plus 0 plus 5, we know that equals 7. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 8 is 17. Carry that 1 for a little bit of regrouping. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 plus 2 is 15. Carry that 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And there you have it. You have to make sure, though, that your numbers are lined up in their correct columns. You have to make sure that the decimals are stacked up on top of each other. Otherwise, you're going to come up with some kind of wacko answer, and it's not going to be the right one. So make sure your place value columns are lined up and that your decimals are stacked on top of each other. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of addition problems for you to try on your own, and make sure you follow all three rules. Line them up, drop it down, and fill them in. So here's your first one. 639 and 18 hundredths plus 6 and 875 thousandths plus 242 and 28 hundredths. So line them up, drop it down, fill them in, and add those together. Here's one more. 12 and 99 hundredths plus 8 and 68 hundredths plus 10 and 99 hundredths. There you go. Make sure you get those in your notes so I can check them in class. Okay, On to subtracting. Guys, you're just going to follow the same 3 rules when you're subtracting. So let's say you have 12 and 99 hundredths minus 8 and 65 hundredths. Well, you have to start by putting them on top of each other. Let's come over here. Well, I'll just come over here and do it here. So we have 12.99 minus 8.65. Now you have to line them up on top of each other in their same place value columns. Here's our oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So they're all in their same place value columns. The next thing you have to do is drop that decimal down. So bam, there it is. Then you have to fill in any columns that need filling in with zeros. In the case of this subtraction equation, you don't have to worry about it. So 9 minus 5 equals 4. 9 minus 6 equals 3. There's our decimal point. 2 minus 8, well, we can't do that, so we are going to have to regroup and borrow from our tens column. So our 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 equals 4. And the answer to that subtraction problem is 4 and 34 hundredths. So I have two subtraction problems. Well, of course those are math problems, but 2 subtraction problems for you to get in your notes, and make sure you follow your 3 rules. Line them up, drop it down, and fill them in when you solve these. Make sure you also get them in your notes so I can take a look at them in class. So your first subtraction problem is going to be 20 and 3 hundredths, minus 4 and 3 tenths. Definitely going to have to remember to drop it down on that one. Or not drop it down, fill them in with the zeros. And then your second one will be 33 and 17 hundredths minus 12 and 7 tenths. You will also have to remember to fill them in on this second problem as well. So get these in your notes and make sure you have them in your binder and with you in class. See you later.